Hi, I'm Jess Wilson from Diary of a Mom, and I'm honored to talk to you today about why I believe down to the depths of my soul that our support for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is so incredibly important at this moment in history. Before I start, I just have to say that I absolutely love this idea of introverts for Harris. Having a meeting that isn't even a meeting is genius on so many levels. I'm actually an extroverted introvert or an introverted extrovert. I'm an ambivert. I don't know. All I know is that I love making plans with people and I love hanging out with people, and I am equally ecstatic when those plans are canceled. So yeah, that's me. But sitting here talking to you from the comfort of my own home, where you don't even know whether or not I may or may not be wearing pants, is definitely something that I can get behind. But let's get into it, shall we? I think if you're on this call, then you really don't need for me to detail all of the reasons why it's imperative that we keep Donald Trump and J.D. Vance as far as humanly possible from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I will do something that I thought I'd never do, which is to quote Dick Cheney. Dick, not Liz, but Dick Cheney, recently said the following: in our nation's 248-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He can never be trusted with power again. He went on to say, as citizens, we each have a duty to put country above partisanship to defend our Constitution. That is why I will be casting my vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. So I have to be honest, it's a little disorienting to find myself on the same side of the fence as Dick Cheney. But you have to hand it to him. He's showing integrity, which is admirable. Awkward, but admirable. But I want to talk about why Kamala Harris isn't just not Trump. I want to talk about why she's a person for whom I will be proud to pull that lever in November. In the course of my advocacy work, I talk a lot about the need to excavate our own hidden biases. I would argue that in many ways, that excavation has never been more important than it is right now at this moment in history. We are being called upon to own our own shit, y'all. When we hear our peers say things like, she's unfit for office, or she's really just not qualified for the presidency, or she's only where she is because she was a DEI hire, or the former guy's recent accusation that she slept her way into her various roles over time, we need to excavate. That last one, dripping as it is with a very particular brand of toxic misogyny that is nauseatingly familiar to every woman that I know, is also the easiest to debunk. She was elected DA of San Francisco. She was elected and re-elected Attorney General of California. And she was elected US Senator. And dear God, that would have been an awful lot of people to have slept with to secure their votes. Who would have that kind of time? As for being a DEI hire or engaging in so-called identity politics, the irony of that accusation being leveled by folks whose identity continues to dominate, for the most part, politics and leadership at all levels in our country is not lost on me. But the concept of her being unfit for the job or unqualified is thornier. And I'm hearing it, frankly, from people in my own circle. And that's really disconcerting. And I think it's something that we really need to get into. Because the reality is that I cannot name another candidate for president that was ever more seasoned or more experienced or more qualified than Kamala Harris. Her resume is exemplary, from successful litigator to the whole chain that I just spoke about, from District Attorney of San Francisco to Attorney General of California to the United States Senate, where she sat on the Judiciary and Intelligence and Homeland Security committees. I mean, these are heavy-hitting committees, right? To Vice President of the United States. She has literally done everything except for the job itself. And yet folks are still calling her unqualified. So I ask, what mystical qualification is there that she could add to her resume that would make her more appropriately qualified for this job? And the reality is that there's no honest answer to that other than white and male. We need to own that. We need to push not only ourselves, but our peers to excavate our biases, and in so doing, to recognize our collective vulnerability to being manipulated into believing that this woman, who is 1,000 times more capable, more prepared, and more experienced than her current rival, could possibly be unqualified for the job. Nothing could be further from the reality. She's lived a life of public service. She's been part of a monumentally impactful administration. She is humane and caring and generous and diligent and tireless in her work ethic. Now, do I have points of disagreement with Kamala Harris? I do, and I think that's okay. A few years ago, I had the privilege of attending a talk with Angela Davis, who's amazing. And in that talk, she said, it's not always about choosing someone who will precisely represent us and our entire belief system as much as someone who will make space for us to do our work. She said, I vote for my own capacity to continue to lay the groundwork for radical change. So the question that she asked is, which candidate will be open to organizing and to creating space for radical progress? I'm not voting for the individual, she said, as much as I'm voting for the future. And she stopped for a minute, and then she said those words again. I'm voting for the future. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are hell-bent on bringing us back in time. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are looking forward, and they're helping us to create a better world for our children and for future generations. I choose to vote for the future. I choose Kamala Harris, and I hope that you will too. And I hope that you'll join me in donating everything that you can, putting in work wherever you can, helping the down ballot candidates wherever you can, because heaven knows we're going to need Congress too, and working in every possible way that we can to make this happen. Thank you so much. We're not going back.